Hello and welcome to episode 4 of this Ask Me Anything live Q&A. Every time we've done one of these, it's just gone so well. So I'm excited about this episode. I'm also nervous because it is a bit nerve-wracking before I start these. So let's see how this one goes. Again, it is a Ask Me Anything live Q&A. It is your opportunity to ask me anything about my story, what's going on with the project at the moment, how I'm doing, what I think about certain things. It really is just as you wish. So let's kick off today's episode. We're just quickly chatting about how things are going at the moment, right? While I wait for some questions, and please, by the way, please just put the questions in the chat box, and I'll get to them. But to kick off this episode, let's chat a little bit about how things are going at the moment. Things are going well, but the pressure is on. Some of you may have seen in some of my recent posts that my money's going to run out at the end of February. So it's a massive push now. What's that? November, December, January, February. Just short of 4 months to really just build the momentum and build this project as much as we can until that time comes. Now, what happens when my money runs out? I return back to some form of work and keep this running on the sideline, but it means that I cannot give it as much attention and time that I'm giving it now, which is I'm doing this now on like a full-time basis. So the pressure's on. We got to move quickly. We got to move fast. I've got so many things in the pipeline that I want to talk to you about. As this Q&A develops, I'll chat with you in between the questions. But for now, let's get some questions going. Do you have anything you've always been really wanting to ask me about my story, about the project, about what's going on? Please put them in the chat box. So we've got our first question come through. Thank you so much. It's so great. What can those in the United States do to help? So there are various ways that you can help. I talk a lot on my posts about donations. So that's financial donations. But I also want to stress that I fully understand that not everybody's going to be in a position to donate financially. And I completely get that. And I really hope that I'm not, when I write these things about the donation page in my posts, you guys don't feel, the audience, the viewers of the post don't feel too pressured. That's not what I'm trying to do. You could share one of my posts, comment on one of my posts, like one of my posts. That just helps grow the thing. Because when you like, share and comment, it just sends it out to more people. Now, the aim of this whole thing is to get this subject in front of everybody. I was just about to say as many people as possible, but is that really the answer? No, the answer is everybody. And why is that? Because it's everybody's concern. Everybody either has a child themselves, has a child in their family, or their friends have children. Everybody knows a child and everybody wants their safety. So this kind of subject is everybody's concern. That's why the mission is to try to get it on everybody's table. So from the United States, please just keep supporting the work, support the platforms, share a post that you feel other people should see. Comment with your opinion or your support on the post and always give it a like if it made you think. Because actually, if you just liked every single post of mine, actually also, even though that would be great for the algorithm, that doesn't give me the feedback to know what's working and what's not, because that's also important. So I hope I answered your question somewhat. So I've got another comment in here that I just would like to read out. Jeremy, will you please speak on your childhood environment, the first 7 years before the sexual abuse happened? My question is, speak to the importance of preventative action that starts in the home. Yes, okay, my life before the abuse started. Now, my abuse started when I was 8 years old. So the time before that, everything was fine. Stable household, stable friends, stable schooling. I was of a stable mind, and it was just, everything was in place as you would wish it for a child. But this guy came along, and who knows? Who actually knows? Did he see an opportunity? Was there something in me that he couldn't resist? Had he done it before? Was I the igniter to spark that thing that's in his head? But yeah, the years prior to the abuse, everything was as you would want it. Now let's take that question a little further and say, what, as I believe you've also asked, what, now looking back at it in hindsight, what could we have done to prevent it? And let me speak on this, because this is what I feel so passionate about. Let's just get every child educated, please, right? We educate them on the say no to drugs. We educate them on the don't talk to strangers. Let's just add this one in the mixer, please. It's not a difficult one. It's pretty simple. It's just as simple as these are the areas nobody goes near, and if anybody does, you are to tell someone. Let's just add that to the mixer. We're already doing necessary, mandatory education in schools and the home. Let's just add this one in, because if I knew that the areas of my body that nobody is to go near, and I am not to go near anyone else's, then the things that I was doing with that man, I believe I would have stood a brilliant chance of being like, hang on a minute, they're the things that I'm not meant to do. Now, there is a chance that I wouldn't have come to that conclusion. I was very young, but there's a chance that I would have. Education has to be the number one thing we're trying to hammer home. And I know that the school systems are changing, but they're slow and outdated. So maybe we can do a faster job. That's how I feel about it. Okay, next question. This is fantastic. Come on, the momentum. How do I deal with the stresses of following someone like you that triggers my anxiety? Sorry, love what you do. Oh my goodness. Okay. The posts that I write, the things that I post, I understand that they are difficult, uncomfortable, and could be possible triggers for somebody's difficult emotions. And this comment here from Nana Soria, it is actually, I think, the third time now that I've thought about this, that how is somebody gonna deal with my page when I post every day about something that's intense? And what would my advice be to you if it's causing you triggers of anxiety? And my goodness, you really don't need to apologize. Really, I get it. I understand. What could my advice be to you? If you feel it's necessary, please unfollow for a period of time, but please don't forget about the platform. So maybe you would unfollow for a period of time. Maybe you would. Oh, you know what? I'm stuck. I'm really stuck. Because I'm coming at an angle of I need to write this intense stuff. Yeah, I need to write this intense stuff because the subject's intense. There's no sunshine and roses around this subject. And a lot of the things that I'm posting are things I need to get off my chest, things that I feel strongly about. And if that's going to be harmful for somebody's well-being, then I suppose my first bit of advice would be, please, If it gets too much, unfollow. But don't forget about the Something to Say movement. Come back and join when you're ready. I need to think more about that. Sorry, that's not the best answer. I really need to think more about that. Thank you for another question. So grateful for your bravery and voice. This needs to be made aware to more boys. I agree. Seaburns 3675. I agree. I've just got off the phone to somebody who's going to try to help me. They're actually an agency, and they're a school speakers agency. So they've got all the connections. I've just got off the phone to them today. That's the second call I've had with them, and we're talking about trying to get me into schools. Yeah, let me speak in front of these youngsters. And we don't have to go all the way with my story. We haven't got to get all intense. If teachers or the school system or parents are going to worry about how much detail I give in my story, I won't give any detail. We just talk about it in a few sentences that the event happened. But let's talk about the reflection on it. Let's talk about the grooming process. Let's talk about managing the memories of an experience of abuse. Let's talk about what it was like speaking out. Let's talk about the process of disclosing for the first time, speaking out loud for the first time, all of those things. Let's talk about those things. They're important. They're important. And I believe I can do it in a really engaging way. I really do. What I want from that is I have a vision. If I can get into schools, I want to be at the front of that assembly, and I want the kids to be locked on. I want them to be engaged. I don't want them to be like, oh, this is just another lecture. This is boring. This is so formal. I want to be like on this side of the stage, on this side of the stage, giving this opinion, giving this opinion, asking the students what they reckon. I think that's really possible. I think it's really possible. Okay, let's get to some more questions. Come on, this is amazing. Do you have friends and family who give you support? How do you take care of yourself while working so hard on your mission? My friends and family give me 100% support. Don't get me wrong, everybody's sad, everybody's angry about what happened to me. Every time I post and they see it, I'm sure they feel sadness and anger, because anybody who knows me personally never wanted this to be the path for me. However, they are supportive. They give me feedback. They let me know if what I post they don't agree with. That's helpful. Actually, you know what? The first question that was asked on this live Q&A was, how can we help from the United States? Actually, what I forgot to say was, if you don't agree with something that I post, please let me know in the comment section. Because how am I going to improve otherwise? We're talking about a very, very tricky subject here. It's not easy, right? And I'm trying to get my words right every time. You know, when you read these posts, I've rewritten them so many times that day just to try to explain my point the best I can, but I'm not going to get it right every time. So please do let me know if you don't agree with something, and let me know why. Then we can improve. How do you take care of yourself while working so hard on the mission? Now, I've been doing this for 3 years, so I believe I've grown some resilience. But when it comes to Friday and I start to get really fatigued, and not physically fatigued, but mentally fatigued. Now, the ways I look after myself, let's just quickly go through this. I do a little exercise at least every other day. When I say exercise, I don't mean like crazy intense stuff. I go for a walk. I jog. I lift some weights. I enjoy boxing. I enjoy yoga. I just do a little bit because it makes me feel more alive, right? So if I'm having a rubbish day or something's hit me hard, I just do like 20 minutes exercise and it seems to settle me. I read in the evenings. I like to watch the odd bit of TV, not too much, and just relax in the evenings and put the computer away and just realise that if I'm suffering, that it is for the good of this whole situation, right? If it's a little bit of suffering, but then we're getting more and more people aware of this subject, then this is just worth it. You know, I'm now and again I'm getting messages from parents saying they've opened the conversation with their children through seeing my work. That is worth. That's just worth it. That's just worth it. Kids just need something super high level that tells them what is appropriate behaviour and what isn't. I imagine the majority of kids don't even know that. I agree. Children just don't know it. And let me tell you something that I just find so crazy. Right. Sex. It's the most natural thing that we do. It's the thing that drives a lot of our behaviour, especially in our younger years. It's the thing we all enjoy and hope that others enjoy it as well in their life. And it's the thing that made us all. It's the reason why we're all here. But we don't want to talk about it. In fact, we're embarrassed. It's like us adults are embarrassed to talk to children about it, even though it's the thing that we all do and enjoy. Like, it's just so crazy. But we're happy for children to watch films with sex scenes in them. We're happy for children to watch music videos that have incredibly intense sexual connotation in them, incredibly intense sexual vibes, sexual imagery. We're okay for them to watch that. We're okay for them to watch the films, but we don't want to talk to them about it. Oh my God, we could never talk to them about it. Like, it's so crazy. Then these children are walking around naive to the realities of sex and the rules around sex. And then we're so sad when they are taken advantage for that naivety. We should take some responsibility for that, I believe. Next question. Let me just tell you, for everybody that's watching, this is incredible momentum on the questions. I never had it like this before, so I am buzzing. Okay, going through the police process now. Fairly sure it won't even go to court. Just my word against his. How did you deal with your abuser not getting prosecuted? Number one, HAP 5.1. Good luck. You're a strong person for reporting it and going through the police process. I wish you all the best, and I'm sure every single person on this platform wishes you the best. You're doing a great thing. You're doing a great thing, let me tell you. Okay, it may not even go to court. And yes, I don't know your situation, obviously, but yeah, it may not go to court. But when I was going through my police prosecution situation, my drive was because I felt like I must try to make sure that he cannot do this to another child. And one of the ways to do that is to try to prosecute. And that is when I found out that he had denied it and we couldn't prosecute him, I just said to myself, okay, but you did your best. You did your best. And in that situation, there is nothing else that you can do. You did your best. Good luck. I've always wondered what your parents' reaction was when you told them what happened to you and how that happened. This question cuts me up every time because it's so sad. My friends and my parents will never, ever get over what happened. They'll never get over it. I would say if you were to go and ask them personally how they felt the day I disclosed to them, they would feel physical pain through telling you the explanation. it's so painful that they can hardly take it. I mean, let's just take some of my friends. I mean, they've been on this journey with me for when did I start telling my friends? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It still hurts them. It still hurts them, and a lot of them were around when I was at that age, when I was of the age that I was being abused. This is why I'm saying what we're trying to do with this project is so important, because the abuse doesn't just affect the victim. In fact, from my personal situation, it's affecting it now. These days, it's almost like it's affecting them more than me. I've been dealing with this the memories came back. The memories got severe for me when I was 25. I'm now 36. I've had a long time to talk about this with myself in my head. They're 5 years in, 4 years in. This is intense for them. Families are being ripped apart through this. Families are being ripped apart. It's just another reason why this is all just so important. It's all just so important. And we got people on Instagram like Ryan, Antares, Richard Pink that are trying their best to do the same as well. And if we can just show, just to take it to the area of like males speaking out, just to get that momentum going, would be a good thing. Okay, do you think people should be open and honest with conversation around sex? This is actually really interesting. And when I kick off this podcast that I'm putting plans together for in the new year, what I want to do with it is I want to bring guests on that are professionals or academics in these different fields. Now, sex and how we handle it as a society is a very interesting topic. Yes, I do think we should be more open and honest with the conversation around it, but there's got to be a reason why it's so stigmatized. Is there an evolutionary explanation for that? Or is there a cultural explanation for that? I want to find out. And I want people who have written books on this thing to come on the podcast and and talk to us about it, because it's all interesting for us, right? It's all interesting for us. So I hope to open the conversation. I hope I am opening the conversation a bit more on my platform around these areas of sex and porn and sex education and all of these things. So I'm hoping that we can do more about that. And yeah. Okay. If we don't talk about the topic of sex and what is and isn't appropriate sex touching, how can they approach this issue if they... I have read that so terribly. Just need to slow down for a moment, right? If we don't talk about the topic of sex and what is and isn't appropriate touching, how can they approach the issue if they experience something sexually traumatic? If we don't talk about the topic of sex and what isn't appropriate sex touching, how can they approach the issue if they experience something sexually traumatic? Little Poppy Girl, can you reword that question? Maybe I'm just reading it completely incorrectly. Little Poppy Girl Poppy, you're a therapist. Can I join the conversation? Would love to share some knowledge. Right, I'm just going to say no to that just for the moment, and the reason why is because I didn't realise I could actually get people in on this, but I'm going to contact you after this live Q&A and see if we can do some kind of collaboration. Those on my friend list won't interact or share any content regarding child sexual abuse. It saddens me how much it's looked over. Yes, okay. Can I just say, let me just give my thoughts on that. Oh, I just nearly knocked my stand over. If you are, and there's my mic, right? Or if you are sharing things about child sexual abuse on your platforms and nobody in your community is resharing it, don't let that irritate you or anger you or sadden you, because they just don't want to share it. And we want things shared. We see that everything should be shared as much as possible, but some things are not, and some people don't want to share it on their platform. Some people, social media is quite a personal thing to people, so don't let that cause you any discomfort. Just keep posting your thing. Post what you think is true. Post what you think is kind. Post what you think is productive. Post what you think makes progress. And if it gets shared, it doesn't. But the fact that you're posting it is spot on. So that's my answer to that, and I hope that helps. Do you think children should have their own place to have places to have? Do you think? Okay. Do you think children should have their own place to have places to have privacy? Do you think they should have their own place to have privacy, to get changed, etc., and learn about their own body, that they have right to say no to hugs? Okay, okay. A lot of parents say give them a hug, but children should be able to say no, in my opinion. Right, now, this keeps coming up. And this is tricky. So we're always now talking about, and by the way, the two people that have put questions in the question box down there, I'm going to get to them. I just never had this many questions before, so I'm just judging how long to spend on each question. So please bear with me. This is incredible stuff, guys. Really, I've come across this conversation a little bit before. A lot of parents say give them a hug, but children should be able to say no, in my opinion. I agree, children should be able to say no. I agree, we should teach children that if they don't feel comfortable with it, they don't have to do it. But I have this resistance in me to start, if it turns into like removing human interaction entirely, it's like, this is such a grey area. I'm trying to think on the fly here. It's like, do we start saying to children, like scaring them into thinking like hug is for certain people, a hug is only this, a hug is on, like there's this complication around the hug, when like a hug has been around for all of time. I think we just need to be a bit careful around this. I don't think saying, oh, it's tough. Because you want to say to your kid when you leave your grandparents' house or a family member's house or a close friend's house, say bye. You say bye. That's a point. Maybe you would just say to the child, say bye to grandma, say bye to auntie, say bye to your sister, and let them decide on how they want to do that. Maybe that's a point. Instead of being like, give your grandma a kiss, give your granddad a kiss. Maybe the child don't want to give grandma a kiss. Maybe they feel more comfortable because they're a little shy. Maybe they just feel comfortable like high-fiving or saying bye or hugging or kissing. But then you give the option to the child. Okay, I've never really thought about that before. So thank you for the question. You made me think. Let's see if we can make more content on that. If we don't educate and talk about sex, appropriate and inappropriate touch, how will a child know what to do if they experience traumatic sexual experience? This is. I just completely agree with you. The first step on the ladder is to teach them what is appropriate and inappropriate touch, to teach them what consent is, to teach them what the rules around their body are. And we're not just talking about 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 11-year-olds. We're talking about, we want somebody to get to 16 or 18 years old and this be fully in their brain, in their capacity. It's just like second nature to them, because we are predominantly talking about child sexual abuse, but teenage years are tricky years when it comes to sex as well. It's an area that I want to talk about more. Education. It's a number one on my platform. That's why I make the most content about it. Okay, next question. Are there any books you'd recommend primary school aged children? I should do a reading list, shouldn't I? I should probably do a reading list because a few people are asking me this question, and maybe I should. You know what I could do? Maybe I should just review some books. What do you reckon? Do you reckon that's a good idea? Do you think it's a good idea if I reach out to the book illustrators, ask them to send me a copy, and I'll make an honest review of that particular book on my channel? Because I don't know, I don't have any recommendations, and actually I feel bad or sad for the illustrators of these types of books, because I think trying to sell them is like such a challenge. I think trying to sell books on sex education is such a challenge, because the parent is already shy or embarrassed to speak with their child about it, let alone pay money for a book that's going to make them speak to their child about it. So that book's idea has just sparked an idea in my head. Let's see what we can do with it. Right, let's get to the two questions in the box. Okay. Hi, I know you've talked about maybe having talks at unis. Would you ever consider colleges? Hello, this week I put a lot of effort into trying to make this happen. So I thought universities, meaning 18 years old and over, would be the perfect place, because they have budgets for it as well, because I need to make a little bit of money out of it. Yes, I do. Yeah, because I'm running on the last bits of my savings from my engineering career now. I need to start generating funds so this whole thing can continue. Universities have budgets and they often have speakers. And I just feel like that age group would be like, yeah, get him in. Then colleges was going to be my next one. Then schools, of course, is one of the main ones. But actually, I have been connected with somebody who's got so many connections in schools. So I am trying to explore all these avenues. I want to do speaking events at least one a week. That's what I'm after. Because it's kind of like frontline work, right? Then it's frontline work because you're on the front line, you're speaking directly to people, and now that the YouTube channel's up and running nicely, the website is up and running nicely, the social media's up and running nicely. Now, after the talk, I'm not like, see ya, I've said all my bit, see you later, deal with anything that you've been thinking about during this discussion. Now I can be like, right, we got a community of people, and you can go to there, here's all the links, you can go to there and check out more work and more of the community feel. So that's good. 379 FIA, if you're in the UK, maybe you could speak to somebody and hand them my website and see whether you could get me into a college. Please. Thank you. That would be really helpful. Okay, little question. What type of stuff do you read? Okay, So I was always self-development all the time. Everything was trying to improve my behavior, improve my strategy on life, improve the way I move, improve the way I conduct myself. But these days, and in those days, I never used to read anything fiction, anything. But these days, it's just flipped on its head. And I think the reason for that is because I'm doing such intense work during the day. I want to break in the evening. So I started picking up these books called Warhammer books, which are fantasy books about different universes. It's so nerdy and so geeky, but I love it. So it's all about the fiction for me now. So maybe actually I can learn from these fiction books, because I hope to write good stories and make films and stuff like that in the future, all on how the life of a survivor unfolds. There's some of my ideas. The Pantysaurus Gemma Louise here writes about the Pantysaurus. That is something here in the UK that is I've heard a lot of children receiving that particular video from the NSPCC, and I don't want to shout the NSPCC down because they've done something incredible and got that into schools. But what I will say, a little review here of that video is, I think we can do better. That's what I'm going to say about it. I'll do a proper review on it. And again, I don't want to shoot them down because they've done an amazing thing. Do you have any recommendations where to get help around sexual abuse? Again, I feel like I should have a good answer for this, but I don't. Much like the question that was asked earlier by Gemma Louise about, do I have any book recommendations? I should have a reading list. I should have a list of charities that I would say go to. But also, do I really want to start doing that? Or do I want to just let people Google keywords and find what works for them? It could be speaking to a charity on their helpline. It could be joining a Facebook survivor group, abuse group, and getting involved in the community, the discussion there. It could be getting in chat rooms and talking to people about it. It could be posting your story on one of these sites. It could be therapy. It could be reading. It could be journaling. There's plenty of ideas. I feel like I'm trying to stay away from advising people on how to run their journey. I'm trying my best to tell people about what worked for me and what didn't work for me. And then it's kind of like, well, here's my experience. Take what you want from that and leave what you don't want. If I start saying you should do this, or it will be better if you do this, I think that starts to become a tricky thing because everybody's so different. Gemma Louise, thank you so much. Why don't you write a book? Yeah. It's another thing that I've been thinking about. I tell you what's going crazy here at the moment is with this deadline of the end of February, doing as much as I can, getting as much running as I can. I got so many things that I want to do, but I am at maximum capacity. So what I'm doing right now is I am building a team, a Something to Say team. Now, I've got a guy who's a follower from India. He's editing the YouTube videos. Now, that saves me like 15 hours a week, which is what I used to do all the editing. He's doing that now, saves me 15 hours a week. I'm speaking to a lady at the moment who's interested in running the Something to Say page, Something to Say official page. Now that would help me. That's kind of an admin task. That will help me. I've got another guy who's helping me with some video concepts. So now I'm getting these people helping me. It's kind of like freeing up the time that was taken up with those tasks. And this is where now I can start pushing for speaking events. I can start putting together a blog, which a lot of people have asked for, and I can start thinking about books. Children's books, fiction books for adults. This is the kind of things that I've got so many things I want to explore. Okay, I'm just scrolling through the chat. It's nice that we can have the chat here. Last time I tried to record the whole screen with the chat in it as well and post the whole thing to Facebook to YouTube. So if you are watching it on YouTube, you can watch the chat as we go. So I hope I tried to sort the technicality out this time, so I hope it's going to work. Okay, there's no more questions. If I have missed your question, I really apologise. We're not finishing yet. We've got 20 minutes to go. But if I've missed your question in the chat, please rewrite it and I'll answer it. But shall we just talk a quick moment about the latest that's going on? I've got all these areas on the move, trying to progress all these areas. You seen the Something to Say official page, right? It's looking so strong. The pictures with the green bar across the mouth. It's looking so strong. Everybody's writing in and talking with like strength and courage and boldness, which is what Something to Say represents. Now, if you have something to say, please write into that. I'm trying to build a community of us there. Now, I've got these ideas about podcasts in January. I've got the studio lined up. I've got the producer lined up. I've got the audio guys and video guys all lined up, ready to go. It's just a point of getting the right guests. I just want the professionals, the academics, maybe people who have been in the industry for like 20 years. I'd love to get like a police person who's worked in the police force. I'd like to get a therapist. I'd like to get counsellors. I'd like to get book authors, and just pick their brains for us to understand more. So that's the podcast. That's the Something to Say page. Now, a new thing that I've got happening right now. I've got the Something to Say clothing being designed. Now, that's going to be a massive thing because that is going to be a huge way for me to generate funds out of this. Now, the clothing is going to represent boldness, strength, and courage. And I want people to wear it in that way. The designs are being done now. I've got a meeting on Thursday to go through them. Keep an eye out for that. Like, everything's moving. The theatre production, the theatre company have gone a bit quiet on me. I don't know how long anybody that's listening has been following for, but maybe 2 months ago, I got the go-ahead for a theatre production from a company in London, and they've gone quiet on me. Now, I know they're busy, so I hope that they're going to get back in touch. Keep fingers crossed with that, because a theatre production explaining how the life of a survivor unfolds would be incredible. I want this type of work to I want people who have been through the experience to sit and watch these types of content and feel represented by them. And I want people who work in the field to be like, I never thought about it like that before. And I want the people who have never come across this topic before to be like, whoa, I feel like I learned so much. I feel like I'm a lot more aware now that I've just watched that. They're all that aims. Okay, so questions have gone a little dry. Let's get some more in. Anybody got any pressing questions they'd like to ask me, or has anybody have I not answered a question that you answered earlier, but I missed it in the chat because we had like 20 questions at the start. I just remembered. Somebody wrote a question in one of the posts that I put out promoting this live Q&A. So let's answer that one. Is there a correct way to teach a child about different types of touches? Now, this is what I say to that. We are going to speak to a child of 5 years old. Very different to a child of 7 years old. Very different to a child of 9 years old. Etc. So that means there is the education, the level of education, the words that we use, the approach, the tone, the voice will change as the child develops. It's not like we would speak, it's just like a standard education. I believe it should be gentle. I believe it should be interesting. I believe it should be to the point. A lot of people talk about whether to use proper definitions for genitals. And I don't know the answer to that, because it gives me the same kind of resistance. It gives me the same kind of, I'm not 100% sure on how to go about this, as the whole thing with telling your child to hug someone when you leave the house or kiss someone when you leave the house. I just don't know. I think there's a grey area there. Do we use the proper names for genitals with a 5-year-old? I suppose one argument is, why wouldn't we? We use the correct term for every other body part. We don't call the brain something else. We call it the brain. We don't call an arm something else. We call it an arm. So why wouldn't we call a penis a penis? Why is the fake names or the tiptoeing around the proper names causing this problem in our minds as children to the private parts being something more than a body part? So tough. I don't know if there's correct ways. I think it's different fits for different personalities. I want there to be more options for people to take. So if there is a parent or an educator or a teacher that wants to speak with a young person about inappropriate touch, that they have a library of ideas in their head to draw from. Not just one video that they watched or one thing that they got taught on how to do this. I want there to be a variety of options. And instead, because I'm always talking about trying to take it away from being academic, I don't want it to be like I don't want the adults to be like, oh, I can't be bothered to read that. Or, oh, I just don't want to do that tonight. I want to get away from that. What I want is, I want to turn this subject into something where they're like, oh, I want to know more about that. Or they go to work the next day and they're like, they're making coffee in the tea room and they're like, oh my God, I saw something last night. It was about this. You gotta watch it. That's the kind of thing that I'm after. To turn this subject on its head, to make it interesting and engaging. Is it possible? A lot of people would say no. Have we got to at least try? The answer to that is yes. The example that makes me believe that it's possible is a series, a 3-part series on Netflix called The Queen's Gambit. That story was, a large part of that story was around the game of chess, an old-fashioned dying out board game. But a result of that Netflix series, which turned out to be one of Netflix's most successful series ever, Amazon and eBay reported that they couldn't get enough chessboards. They were selling out at a rapid rate. Now, if you're wondering what relevance does that have with what we're trying to do here, the Queen's Gambit made an old-fashioned dying out board game interesting for people, interesting enough for them to go out and buy the game. So why can't we take child sexual abuse, which is a difficult subject that nobody wants to watch, and put it in a film or a fiction story that gets everybody gripped? That's my vision. Okay, so just as it's important to educate children, I feel it's also important to educate adults and parents. Absolutely, I agree. Not only how to talk to children, but who and what and how these child predators work. So, I feel it's not only important to educate adults and parents, not only how to talk to children, but who, what, and how these child predators work. Yes, speaking about how these child predators work is just, well, that's what we're trying to investigate. Yeah, that is actually what that is one of the main things that we are after. To understand why they're doing what they're doing, to understand what is driving their behavior, to understand what it is we need to do to get them to resist to stop doing this? And how are we going to do that? How are we going to find out these things? How are we going to investigate these things? Well, one idea is to interview them. Who's got all the answers to these questions? It's actually them, yeah? And we can do all the research, we can do all the brain scans, but in the end, they know all the answers. But would they ever give them to us? I don't think so. If we understood more about how child predators worked, then that would help us understand how the grooming process works. That would help us understand how to better equip people to protect themselves against these things. So that would make one hell of a documentary, right? That would make a brilliant TV show. That type of investigation would be really something. So, for anybody that's joined, we got 10 minutes to go. This is a Ask Me Anything live Q&A. Please let me know if you have any questions for me. It's been rapid today. We have not ever had this many questions before. I've starting to feel a little exhausted actually, because it's been, maybe we've done 20, 30 questions. It's been incredible. We have covered all sorts of topics, from how it feels to go through an experience like this, how it feels for those close to you to go through to hear that you've gone through an experience like this, how it feels to be running this project relentlessly, where I'm trying to go with this thing, how it feels with the pressure of the last 4 months now before my money runs out. For those that don't know, I was a mechanical design engineer before I did this. I did it for 15 years. Some people would say that actually, do you feel like it was a waste of time doing that career? Do you feel like you realised that you wanted to do this raising awareness project earlier? And my answer is no to all of those things. The engineering career gave me confidence to run a project. The engineering career gave me skill in ideas, developing ideas, thinking outside the box, trying to find a solution for a problem. That is what engineering is about. And it also just gave me discipline. I was quite engrossed in improving in my engineering career. So I was doing lots of hours, working all the time, a lot of the time, I shouldn't say all the time, trying to improve my job, trying to improve my workplace, moving from company to company. I worked overseas on a number of occasions, and actually that just kind of trained my mind for drive and ambition and direction. So actually that was exactly what's needed. Okay, so we got 5 minutes left. I'm feeling mega exhausted. I didn't sleep the best last night, to be honest, but the start of this live Q&A was intense momentum. So many questions got fired. I actually listened to this Q&A the day after. I listened back to it, and what I'm trying my best to do is answer these questions a little better, because I feel like I read the question and then I feel like I read the question and then I have a moment to think about it, which is necessary, and then I start trying to go in a different direction. I feel like I need to answer the question directly. I don't think I'm doing that. I'd like to improve at that. So these live Q&As are helping me, as well as I hope that they help everybody that's listening. I'm going to upload it, by the way, on YouTube when I get some time tomorrow morning, so that anybody can watch the full thing. And also I will timestamp the questions as we went through them. Okay, we got a couple of questions quickly coming here for the last 4 minutes, and here's my challenge to answer them rapidly. How do you care for your mental health whilst tackling such a heavy topic? A small amount of exercise, at least a small amount of exercise every other day. Try to eat half decently. Do something in the evening that is away from this subject. Rest when you can. Okay, that's just 4 off the top of my head. And also, actually writing the posts that I put out is kind of my journaling. It's kind of like getting things off my chest. So that all works for me. Next question. Last one this will be. You said that you've been doing at this for 4 to 5 years. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 7 years? I like this question. In 5 to 7 years, I want to be featured on TV programs, talking about the project and my experience and my thoughts on it. I want to be on massive podcasts. My aim is Joe Rogan podcast. My aim for TV, I want films, I want documentaries, I want the Something to Say platform to grow and be a place for everybody to speak. I want everybody to feel bold when they come on the platform and read these posts. I want to be in schools talking to the young people. I want to have a theatre production that we can go on tour with and offer to schools for free. I want this, and I believe that it's possible. Now, before Instagram shut me out, which is going to happen in a minute and a half, I'm just going to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody that submitted a question. Thank you for everybody that stayed for the whole hour. Thank you to everybody that's contributed. Like, we're really, really moving forward. There's Something to Say official page is growing and people feel strong through it. The general pages are growing. We've got the theatre on the cards. We've got the merchandise on the cards. We've got more videos coming on the card, so just stick with me. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to upload the full video to YouTube tomorrow. Have an amazing evening. Thank you.